The year is not over yet, and for Christmas, as a present, Oppo decided for my Oppo Find X3 it's time to release ColorOS 13. So I have now the brand new version of ColorOS 13 on my Find X3 and can show you what are the new features, how does it look like, and so much more. So let's get started. So here we have the brand new ColorOS 13 on my Find X3, and this is the normal AOD, nothing changed there. Let me get it unlocked, there we go. And on first glance nothing changed here on the operating system itself, but what we have here underneath is ColorOS 13 with Android 13. And what we can see here on first glance when I want to go to settings is we have a new control center. They're not adopting the Huawei, iOS or Xiaomi way of having your messages and control center separated. No, it's just put into the same view still. And we have here the options like Wi-Fi and Bluetooth and some other quick toggles that I can expand, and I have more options here. And you can see also the new design that we have in general: brightness control, automatic brightness, my devices, which is a new feature which allows me to see other devices from Oppo and control them from here. Very prominent here, and looks very much like the Xiaomi's, the Huawei's and so on. And the cool thing about this one is here, even the two big toggles, they might look different for you because you can edit them. You can long press to go into your Bluetooth settings, very nice inbuilt. You don't have to go directly into the settings, which opens up a new page, but you can refresh here. Even available devices, new devices would appear here. You can connect to them without going directly into settings. You can, of course, go directly into settings by clicking onto more if you need to. Otherwise, we have also the option here to edit those tiles, and here you can see we don't only have the option to edit those small circular tiles, but also those more bigger rectangular tiles. We can move them, we can delete them, we can move something else up there. So if I don't want to have Bluetooth and Wi-Fi here, but mobile data, I could move mobile data up here. Very nice indeed, nice addition. And what is pretty cool here as well is you might remember on the presentation of ColorOS they were showing a little widget here when you're playing something back. So let's play something back here via YouTube Music, for example. Some random stuff. Let's here play back this soundtrack, very good by the way. And let's make the volume a bit low. But what would happen now is when I scroll down, you can see we have a player here. So it's automatically detecting that something is playing back, like YouTube Music is playing back here. And I have playback controls here. I can skip to the next song, go to the previous song, hit play and pause, can click on it to have a bigger media player here, have the option to rate. So this is working with here YouTube Music in this case together. So it's not limited to only the app that is native for ColorOS, like the music player. And I also have the possibility to check here where to output this music to. So I can say, okay, I want to output it to my Bluetooth headsets, I want to output it to my Bluetooth speaker instead of the phone speaker. So very, very cool indeed, and very nice additions. Besides that, you will also see that we have some new icons, especially here on the bottom. The phone icon and the camera icon and the messages icon are new here, and some other icons are new here. Then you can see also a new font, especially here when we go into settings, where you can see we have also a little bit of more overhauled icons here in the settings. The size is different here, and of course the font is different here. Oppo is using a new font that they created for this device, which is a bit larger, a bit more fat, bold as well, this font, and in general better readable, I would say. Then we have like the shenanigans that we know. We have some tips and tricks at the top here, like flexible windows, watch animation tutorials, how to do certain things here, like what I can do. For example, I can show it to you. Let's go directly again to YouTube Music. I want to minimize this window. What I can do is go up here, then release here, and then I have a minimized version of this window. I can work here, go to the Play Store, update my apps and so on, have other things, go back here, click on it, I have a floating window that I can move around. I can, I think, even resize it here, as you can see, and move it around. And I also have, of course, the option to go back into full screen. And you can see how fluid this animation is. I really like it. This is much more fluid than on even HarmonyOS, where it feels a little bit more clunky. And here it's very, very fluid on this device and runs very, very natural. So their aquamorphic design that they are using here is working pretty nice. Then the other new feature that we have is big folders. You can see I have several of those folders here. And if I want to make one folder bigger, I can press longer on it and I can say enlarge folder. And this will automatically, you can see, move all the other folders away and tells me what I can do. I can touch and hold the folder to make it smaller again if I want to. But the cool thing is here, instead of like using all the 6 tiles that I would use for all those little icons, it's using only like a 4x4 grid, and I can still execute those icons. I can still go to Chrome here if I want to without any issues. So no issues at all, as you can see here. Very, very nice indeed, saving some space, especially if you have some folders that you're using very, very often. You can do so. And if you don't like it, you can just simply say shrink again, and it's shrunk. Shrunk, is this English? And you can do this with lots and lots of other devices as well. Very, very cool indeed. Another thing is that we have now widgets here, and here on the calendar, for example, we don't have a new widget, but for the clock app, if I find the clock app, we have a new widget, for example. If I press and hold longer on the clock app, you can see this widget popping up. I can switch between widgets, like for example, I have multiple clocks here, different watch faces. And if I want to pin it, I just click on this pin button, and actually I can even hold and drag it out here to place it. This is working, I think, better. And then it's showing me the time in Beijing right now, which is like probably not what you want, but you can click on it and go directly into the clock. You can see also this nice animation going in here and out. Very nice. This reminds me of HarmonyOS having the same kind of design, language, and user experience, which is pretty nice indeed. Then we have, of course, some new options here that come from Android 13 as well. We have the one-handed mode, which is relatively new. This is also coming from Android 13, but we have also some new options that we can find here on this device. A big new option to configure stuff is wallpapers and styles. There we have the new Android 13 options to have a new style. We can see, by the way, the new font that we have here. We can use Roboto, but we can also use the new Oppo Sans font that looks like this. Hit apply here, and now you have the new Oppo Sans font, which let's go back maybe here, which looks like this, so a little bit cleaner than the Roboto-like standard Android style. When we go into wallpapers and style, we have icons that we can change, where we can change the aquamorphic design, which is a new one, to the material design, which looks like this. We have also the pebble design if you want to look at like more Nokia old days. And this is the aquamorphic design, which I really like. So apply this here. And then we have themes, of course, which goes into the theme store. We have some new themes. But what is very cool is the always on display has some new options and some new contextual information that you can see here. But what's also cool is, because this is an LTPO display that can go down to 1 Hertz, I think. Maybe this one is an older one, can go to 10 Hertz. It will now use this for the always on display. So it's not running at 60 Hertz or something like this, but it's going down really to 10 Hertz. Contextual information I can turn on, get status update about rides and other things. I can turn it on here. I have the possibility here, you can see my lock screen right now, how it or the always on display, how it should look like. And missed calls, how it look like, notifications, how they will look like, battery percentages and so on. Very stylish indeed. You can change, of course, the theme, but you can also turn on music playback information. So it will turn on music play information. So if you listen to music, it will automatically tell you which kind of music this is. Tips for food deliveries I can turn on here if I want to have this. And supported apps we have here. Several supported apps. In this case, because it's a Chinese model here, it's showing me Chinese things here I could install, but in yeah, it would be possible in the future as well for other services as well. So this is very, very cool indeed that we have those options here, that we can turn contextual options on. Then we have some other options, just like, for example, we can change the theme. We have, of course, the canvas option where we can use personalized options, like we can use our emoji, which is like the Oppo emoji kind of that you can create for yourself. We have artist series, different ones here. We have system provided, which is very cool, that show you, depending on how your usage is of your phone, how the daylight or daytime it is changing according to this. Like, for example, how climate changing is going on. It will change, it will melt the ice for this polar bear. So this is all possible here with this AOD, which is pretty nice, and customizabilities are very, very cool here indeed. And the same goes for colors. We have various different colors that we can take. Of course, also the wallpaper color picking tool that allows us to take the colors from the wallpaper itself, and we can set this up the way that we want to, which is also very nice indeed. Very, very easy. We have quick settings options where we can set up even how the quick setting options should look like. So these options, how they should look like. So we have the default, we have the window option here. You can see the different notifications, how they change. We have a square option if you want to have it squared, rounded, circular one, circle two, or in this case like this, or window, or leave it to the default. Very, very nice indeed. Fingerprint animation that we can change, various different animations that we have here. We can even have none if you want to have it. We can have this here, we can have this here, we can have this here, so various different ones. I like this one in particular, so I'm taking this. We have edge lighting as well, so it's lighting up the edges here when you have a missed call or a missed notification. You can set it up here the way you want it in different colors. Orange here, blue, I like the blue for incoming calls. For example, it can be also applied, which is very interesting. Then we have even video ringtones, also a new feature that will, on certain persons that you have, or people that are calling you, it will then show their emoji as well, which is pretty interesting. So you can install this. It's using the theme store here as well for the video ringtones, where you can have not only emojis, but also, of course, other videos that will play back on certain people that are calling you. Very, very nice indeed. Those customizability options are very, very cool on ColorOS 13. So I showed you a few of those features of ColorOS 13. There are more here, and about this version you can see all of those things that have changed. Animation has changed, applications have changed. Just let me quickly go into my Files app or so on. They have changed as well, have animations and look a bit different here. They have a new design language as well, and this is all like in the ColorOS version, and you can see it in the version information as well. And I just want to briefly talk about, because we are like almost 15 minutes in this video already, so lots and lots of color changes and efficiency changes. It should run more efficient, not use so much battery and so on. There are detailed change logs here. Seamless interconnection, which is also multi-screen collaboration if you have an Oppo device. To use this, sadly, we don't have here right now. Personalization options as well, and security and privacy options. So we have the possibility to pixelate automatically some sensitive information from photos and so on. Health and well-being option, performance optimization, and gaming experience. So lots and lots of changes here for your Oppo device, and it really improves the Oppo Find X3. If you have a Find X3, Find X3 Pro, especially because it was sold globally, just install this update and just you don't need to buy a new phone. This is literally bringing your phone to the newest version, and it will feel very, very cool and new indeed. So what I want to check out now is the camera, because of course from Android 12 to 13 lots has changed as well, and the camera options probably also have changed. So what I want to do right now is also record a little bit of video to show you if maybe there are also improvements in terms of color science, in terms of stabilization, in terms of HDR, sound eventually, and so on. So let's check out the camera on the Oppo Find X3. using ColorOS 13. Oh, this is now a video that I'm recording with the Oppo Find X3 with the new ColorOS, and it is using by default the wide angle lens for this video, but of course I have the possibility to zoom in. Large sensor 1/1.5 inch. Very cool that Oppo is still using this because others are just like not doing this, omitting the ultra wide angle. But for vlogging, this main back sensor, the ultra wide main back sensor, is very good. But we also have of course a one-time zoom main sensor that I can switch to just by going one times now. This should be now the one-time zoom lens that I can switch to. We don't have buttons anymore to switch there. We have just a slider. And what happens if I just like point here, eventually click on the button? Nothing really. I can go to one time. This is now exactly one time. I think stabilization is pretty nice. And colors are nice because it's a bit of a cloudy day, rainy day actually. You can see it's very red here, so it's a bit of a grayish kind of day as well. What do you think about this one here? I'm using an external microphone because it's possible on Oppo, and sadly I cannot switch to the front-facing camera. So what I have to do, or what I can do, is like show you the zoom first of all. Let's zoom on something. So let's try to zoom there on the far chimney there, whatever it is there. So we now add 5 times, 6 times, 8 times, 9 times, 10 times, 20 times zoom, and yeah, it doesn't look good. I think stabilization is not the best here. Not sure if it's like utilizing some telezoom that we have here on the Find X3. Anyway, this is zooming in, zooming out. You can make it pretty smoothly if I want to, or I can make it very fast, which looks like this. And now we're using ultra wide angle that can also be used as macro lens. So let's check out the front facing camera and then some photo shots as well. So this is now the front-facing camera of the Oppo Find X3. Be sure to to check the stabilization button, because I didn't have it checked, and then you get a very shaky footage. For 1080p I think it is still okay. I'm bumping it up of course to 4K because I'm working with a 4K timeline here. But what do you think about the quality here of the selfie cam? Sadly it doesn't have autofocus, even though it detected my face and showed a yellow frame around it. What do you think about the stabilization, colors and so on of the front-facing camera here on the Oppo Find X3 using ColorOS 13? Then we have a cinematic mode that can record with different settings, just like what I'm doing here right now is recording with 1/60th shutter speed. It's utilizing the ultra wide angle here, but I can also switch to the main or even the telezoom, but only before recording. When I hit recording, then I don't have the option to switch between them, which is a bit of a bummer. But what do you think about the quality here? This one also allows you to shoot log, which is also I think a very cool idea. This is how the movie mode looks like with the one-time camera. Sadly I cannot choose between very different LUTs, just like on Honor smartphones. But yeah, I think the log format in general is a good and nice idea. Would be better if I could edit this also, adding a LUT or something like this on the phone itself, so I don't have to go to my editing machine to do this. What do you think about the quality here? We also have an Ultra Steady Pro mode here on the Find X3, and this is utilizing 1080p 60 frames per second to give you very stable shot when I'm walking here, pretty fast actually, and it looks pretty stable without having like a gimbal camera inside here. So software is working very fine. And what about panning? If I pan around a little bit, you can see, yeah, I think it should work fine as well. What do you think? So let's start with the photos of the Find X3. Remember, it's an older device, I think almost 2 years now old, at least more than 1 year old. We have the main sensor here, which has the specialty because it's almost 35 millimeters. Let's go into the settings, you can see it here. 5.6 millimeters, which translates to 32 millimeters, so almost 35 millimeters, which kind of reminds me of the ZTE X140 Ultra and all the other ZTE devices that are utilizing and doing advertisements with this 35 millimeter. So we have with the Oppo Find X3 almost the same kind of film-like look with 35 millimeter. which is nice. Background bokeh is very nice on this very large 1/1.5 inch sensor. We have a nice foreground as well. Detail levels are there. I think HDR is controlled nicely. We have a bit of noise creeping in and a bit of sharpness added. We can see it later on as well. Let's take a look at the selfie cam. Selfie cam utilizes 32 megapixels using the full sensor. It's not pixel pinning. I use the portrait mode here. You can see the background blur is very, very good. And I think also the stitching and cutting me out is like okay. And it did not make too much mistakes. It's pretty nice. The detail level I think is a bit on the softer side, but I think for portraits it is definitely okay, and it doesn't have any autofocus, so yeah, definitely good. Also colors look good, and I'm not looking too pale here in this shot. Then we have the ultra wide angle. The ultra wide angle utilizing 20 millimeters, so roughly what others are using as their main sensor. It's like 23 or 24 millimeters, so it's a bit closer up, but still this is one of the narrowest ultra wide angles. I wouldn't even call it ultra wide angle, it's just a wide angle camera that we have here. With also the same sensor as the main sensor, and if we go to the edges here, we see a bit of noise creeping in, a bit softer here, but tiny bit only softer, one of the better ones for sure, as it is using the same sensor as the main sensor. Very, very good detail resolution. We have a little bit of artificial sharpening going on, the same as on the main camera, and yeah, very, very good. Also the colors a bit punchy here, especially on the greens, and we can see it also with the main color, where the main sensor that uses the 32 millimeters, where we have also a bit of punchy greens here. Detail level I think is on par. The sharpening of things is the same kind of level as with the ultra wide angle, so I would wish there for it to be a bit more natural, but I think it is okay. Not much that I can complain about. Colors are also okay. They're a little bit punched up, but that is okay. I'm a bit surprised by the telezoom, because it's surprisingly doing a good job, I would say, because I was expecting much worse. 2x zoom here. What we can see, it's not sharpening up so much as the main cameras, which leaves it a bit softer, but also as it keeps the grain in, and it's not trying to get the noise out with algorithms. It's not smoothing things out too much, so it keeps nice kind of detail levels here. Even though it is noisy, we have nice kind of detail levels at 2x zoom, and I think up to 5x zoom it's still usable here outdoors. At least you can see, yeah, the grain is there, but also the details are still there, and I think it's still doing an okay job. Above this one, I think it's unusable. 10x zoom here, you can see, yeah, grain is there, details are there, which is nice and not smoothing up too much. We see a bit of sharpening going on, definitely, for sure. And then 20 times it's just a gimmick. When we take a look at close-up shots utilizing the 20 millimeter lens, because it also autofocus, the wide angle lens, we have nice foreground blur and background blur, which is nice. So everything very, very nice. A nice resolution, 12 megapixels spin from 50 megapixels down. Also very, very cool. Nighttime photography, low light situation without night mode turned on. Also very good. It is a bit dark for sure. It has some noise for sure, but I think the detail level is very nice and everything nice and clean, readable here on this label. And when I go into night mode, what happens is, like, we have this typical HDR effect with like some kind of contrasty look, sharpness adding up, and a bit of stitching going on. Too much HDR for my taste. You can see a halo around this lid here, the black lid. And when you go to the text, you can also see it's not as cleanly or not as readable as on the previous photo, where, yeah, we can see, yeah, it's pretty much readable. Here it looks a bit artificially sharpened up and artificially, like some kind of smoothing algorithm tried to get the noise out there. And then when you go to ultra low light, you can see basically it's only capturing what my eyes can see, maybe a tiny bit more. So this is not so great in bringing up the shadows so much like modern flagships would do. But I think the noise level, noise floor is pretty good. A bit of smoothing things up there, here and there. But yeah, it is what it is. Cannot compete with today's flagship, I would say. And even some mid-rangers that have, I think, a bit of better night mode in this case. But what do you think about the photos of the Find X3 running on ColorOS 13?